Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Okay. Welcome to the Charlotte Buzz, where we drink beer from local breweries while telling stories about the neighborhoods they're from. I'm Chrissy, and this is Drew.
Today, we are drinking Triple Drop IPA,
Supposedly.
from Rivermen Brewing Company. It is an American IPA, 7.2%.
I will say, we went and tried to order the Pale Ale to go, and they gave us the IPA. So for once, we were not trying to do that. And this lovely, if you are watching the video, very lovely handwritten note that was stapled onto it that says that it's Triple Drop IPA also says that it's a 7.6%.
Ah.
So who knows? It's really just a growler of mystery here. But go ahead and keep telling us what we think, maybe.
So it is possibly an old school West Coast style, which highlights the Chinook hop variety.
Chinook.
I've flown on Chinooks in
I was
my
going to say,
day.
that's a,
Helicopter.
yeah.
And also
transportation
an Indian
vessel.
tribe or an Indian person, Native American.
Can you tilt your cup just a little for me for a minute? Thank you, kind sir.
I don't know. I mean, they're all named
it up,
after
tilt
some
it
kind
up.
of
Nope.
Native American something or another. Black Hawk, Chinook, Apache. It's the only ones I know.
That's fair. But all right.
Little Bird. The MH6.
Tweet, tweet. All right, so supposedly regular IPA, a SIPA, right?
Yes, sip.
Okay.
That's what they say. Old school West Coast. You know?
I mean, maybe.
I've never been to old school West Coast.
I asked if it was a single IPA because it's called Triple Drop,
Yeah.
and that's what kept confusing me. It tastes like a beer.
Yeah, I don't know what the triple has to do with anything. Unless there's some story there we don't know.
The details are very hazy on a lot of things, not the good kind of hazy. Which, when I tell you a little bit more about this brewery, may or may not make some more sense as to why it's all muddied. The waters are muddied. I can pun on this brewery all day, man. Oh, this is great. But it tastes like a beer. I wouldn't say an indistinct beer, but I would say like it tastes like a beer. Like it's not there aren't any specific flavor profiles that are exactly popping out at me.
It's just like a solid IPA.
Okay.
I think.
And yeah,
you
when
get
we
a
went,
little bit of that bitterness, but
generally when we go try some of these beers is we'll get a flight and then, maybe get another beer or two of whatever we like or whatever. Try a bunch of stuff out. And so it's hard for me at this moment to distinguish if this was the Pale Ale or the IPA or any of that because, one, I don't have a nuanced enough flavor palette yet. But two is it was just I had all of them all at once. So even as I'm sitting there sipping from a flight, I have to, anytime I taste one and I'm like, oh, I think I like this one, I have to continuously go back to everyone else in that flight just to make sure that that's in fact the case because my brain can't connect it.
You wanted takeout, the Pale Ale. The one that I had a full pint of was Precipitation, a Scottish ale that I liked. And those
Didn't you also get a stout?
Yeah.
Or did you not have a full one of that?
Yeah, I got it. No, I got it in the flight, not a full one.
The stout wasn't bad either.
No. And those three, the one that we have here, the one that you like the best, and the one that I like the best, are the top three.
Hey, all right.
According to Untappd. So yeah.
It'll drink.
Yes, it will.
It's an interesting brewery. I think that clouds my
it's
flavoring.
Another legal remedy ish where it's kind of restaurant forward. You come to the door, somebody sits you down. There's a full menu. Not that we utilize the full menu. We just got 3 starters, basically.
They had shrimp and grits as an appetizer.
Yeah. So
and I mean, yes, it was a small portion of it, but still, like, if we were going to get that as a table appetizer, how do you share that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's strange.
They were good. The grits were pretty good. I don't know about the shrimp. Shrimp wasn't my favorite that I've had, but it was still good.
Yeah, I mean,
it'll eat. Yeah, we won't talk about the pretzels and cheese.
Yeah.
We'll
I was disappointed. I'll leave it at that. It's a cool looking building. It's an old mill. So it's a cool looking building. It's a little bit off the beaten path. And
yeah, it's just like a block shy of downtown.
Yeah. I feel like the entire atmosphere there is a little strange.
There or Belmont?
The brewery. But I think part of that, I'm hoping part of that was there was clearly a 30th birthday party that was in process of being set up in the tap room. So I'm hoping the servers and everybody else were just a little scattered because of that. Because it felt weird. But I'm hoping they were just focused on all the people that were about to show up. So
plus there wasn't a lot going on there because there was a lot going on in downtown Belmont. They had their Friday night live while we were there. So
yes. But
anywho, tell us about the place.
So Rivermen Brewing Company started out with 4 guys who really like to do different paddling trips all up and down the East Coast. And of course...
One would call them Rivermen.
What? And of course, with paddling trips comes campfires and beer and just hanging out, BSing and all that. And of course, we should start a brewery is, of course, just the standard thing. So that's where it started from. It sounds like at this point there's one of those 4 guys is basically the head owner, but that's how it started. I'm not sure if the other 3 are still involved or not. Finding information is very difficult. The website still has a copyright of 2013 at the bottom. And it has clearly not been updated. So it's really hard to get information there. They did originally start in a different location and moved to this one in December of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, even I tried to go stalk down some of their social media to see maybe they haven't touched their website, but whatever. Because I also don't know exactly when they opened.
Okay.
So their website is dated 2013. Their Twitter was started in 2014 and their Instagram started in 2015. None of these are kept up to date. And it's a very their Instagram has been 4+ years, and there's 38 posts on it, something really small.
Well, you should check their Facebook because that's where I got the information about the food, maybe? I don't know.
Well, still. So, they're in an old mill building right next to water. But the interesting thing to me is as I was trying to do any kind of Googling on them, to figure out their history, how they came to be, anything beyond that 2013 website, the first thing that popped up is local brewery faces eviction charges for not paying their rent.
Ooh.
So apparently in the mill building they are currently in, they did not pay their rent for 4 months, and it's $15,000 plus a month.
Oh dear Lord.
And so the article was talking about the landlord filing charges with the court or whatever, and as soon as that went public, conversation started between the main brewery owner that I know is still involved and the landlord, and they came to some odd agreement. It all was just worded so very precisely that makes me wonder what the entire situation was. But that article that first said they were facing eviction was in December of 2018. So fairly recently. And then they came to their agreement in January of 2019. And basically the brewery said, we're here to stay. We'll be here for many years into the future. And the landlord agreed and said if they continue to comply with the terms that we actually agreed upon. So, seems interesting. And I don't know what to do with that. And it just added to that weird vibe.
Yeah.
That came the whole time.
Maybe Belmont just can't support a brewery. Because old Yorkchester just closed out of nowhere. Because that was the original plan for Belmont.
Yeah.
It's called Yorkchester, right?
Yes.
So Yorkchester was the original plan, and we were the day we were gonna go, realize that
they had in fact closed like a week or two earlier.
Like no heads up, just
we
are closed effective immediately.
Yeah.
And
why do breweries do that? Like, this is not the first brewery closing that has happened like that.
Yeah.
Why is there no like?
I mean, maybe that's how a lot of things happen. We're just used to furniture stores.
I mean, I guess you're not
closing
wrong.
for 3 years.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
So
maybe that's just not a Belmont thing.
Right. Maybe.
I mean, we did go to the Friday Night Live thing, and everybody was drinking Michelobes and
it
Bud
was
Lights.
definitely the. They need a Southern Range in there to help convert them, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was much more like national branding type of beer.
And that could have just been that event. I mean, we did see people walking across the street to mug shots and what was that?
It was a
called?
Bike and something.
It was like three places combined.
Right. And it's right there on the corner.
Like South something cycles, South Main cycles, or I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But
yes, a lot of people, ourselves included, went there for the craft beer and then walked it across the street to the no beer beyond this point line and then continued to drink it. But it did seem like the majority of the people there were just like, no, I'm happy with my
Michelob and my koozie.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It might be that. It could be that it's also in a slightly off the beaten path, location.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I did like that the flight that they brought us came in like a paddle oar.
Yeah.
That was the layout of the flight. That was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so
interesting place.
We's in Belmont.
Yes, sir. Historic Belmont.
Yeah.
Tell me things.
Well, as we were walking through the downtown area, we saw a historical marker.
We sure did. We saw a few of those.
Yeah. Where I have primarily used most of my stories have come from historical markers.
Bum, bum, bum.
And so this...
Mine have come from the Googles.
Yeah. And this came from one of those. It is Major William Chronicle.
Oh.
William Chronicle was born about 1755 in present-day Belmont.
I mean, with a name like Chronicle, your life better have a good story.
Yeah. They better
Chronicle
keep track of it chronologically.
So that's where I just got caught up. I was like, I think chronicle is also a verb. Like you can chronicle. I don't know.
Who knows?
Words.
Anyways,
I should know those.
The historical marker had to do with his home. It was near that sign.
Okay.
Not that important because we're not talking about his home. We're talking about him. But I did think the name of his house was a pretty funny name. It says the Chronicle family home, known as Mansion House, was located on present-day Catawba Street in Belmont, near the 1901 Chronicle Mill that was named in honor of our William Chronicle.
Is that, you may not know, the mill that was under construction that we drove by?
No idea.
Okay. I asked...
Possibly. It was the closest one.
I mean, we drove past several mills in our time down there, over there. I would give it... at least 3 or 4 mills specifically I can think of off the top of my head, let alone.
I did learn that Gaston County has the highest number of spindles still in operation.
Oh.
And they are still the largest consumer of cotton.
Oh.
I think that's the right term, consumer. So they use more cotton than anybody in the U.S., in the country. Spindles, and that's why their little logo is like a little yarn.
Spindle?
Yeah. thing.
Huh. Well, dang. All right.
So that's why there were a lot of mills there.
Interesting. Because, there were a lot. That's literally my first my first thing on my notes here. It says all the mills.
Yeah. So William Chronicle is famous for his military days and during the Revolution. He, first...
Tell me.
Mansion house.
I mean...
Which one is it? Is it a mansion or a house?
Maybe it's just a house, but he, very similar to someone else I know, likes to fine and fancy things. And so they called it mansion house to try to,
Make him feel better about it.
Yeah.
It was like a Napoleon complex type deal.
To precede the Joneses and say, yo, my house is a mansion.
Yeah, it's mansion. It says it in the name.
And I mean, it's probably back in the days prior to really being able to prove any of that, minus the people who showed up at your door. So if you're like, yo, I live in mansion house, they were like, whoa.
Anywho, William Chronicle helped organize the Tryon County Militia in 1775.
Okay.
And some may be thinking, what is Tryon County? Because it is not a county now.
You're not wrong.
Tryon County was formed in 1768 from the part of Mecklenburg County west of the Catawba River. Due to inaccurate and delayed surveying, Tryon County encompassed a large area of northwestern South Carolina. Seems like they always have problems with the North Carolina-South Carolina border.
So it's not the first time we've talked about it either, so yeah.
So Tryon County encompassed modern-day Cleveland County, Gaston County, Lincoln County, Rutherford County, Cherokee County, South Carolina, Chester County, South Carolina, Lawrence County, South Carolina, Spartanburg County, South Carolina, Union County, South Carolina, York County, South Carolina, and parts of Burke County in North Carolina,
Yikes.
McDowell County in North Carolina, Greenville County, South Carolina, Newberry County, South Carolina, and the Catawba Indian Reservation. Quite a large area.
Oh, you're done. Wow.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
So that was Tryon County. It was named for William Tryon,
the AKA half the Carolinas.
Yeah. Governor of the North Carolina colony from 1765 to 1771. And, that Tryon Street in Uptown's named after the same fella.
Oh.
Because she didn't know.
What?
But many leaders of the county, including William Chronicle's father, William Chronicle,
very distinct,
did not like Tryon because he was from England, appointed by the king and whatnot. And this is, 1770s, so we're getting pretty close. So Tryon County, so Tryon County was abolished, and Lincoln was formed.
Okay.
We still ain't it's called Gaston County now. So Lincoln was formed in 1779 from the eastern part of Tryon County. It's named after a Continental Army officer, General Benjamin Lincoln. Not Abraham, because he's not there yet.
What?
So Gaston County wasn't actually formed until 1846 from the southern third of Lincoln County.
Okay.
Okay.
Southern third.
Yeah.
Of Lincoln County, which was already half of Tryon County.
Yeah, which was part of Mecklenburg County.
Okay. And, this is like one of those, wait, what's the United Kingdom? What's England? What's Great Britain? That's...
And William Chronicle's father, William Chronicle. That kind of thing.
Gaston, it's a chronicle of Williams.
This is a little side story of my story. Gaston was named after William Gaston.
Dang, all the Williams. Okay.
He was a member of the state Supreme Court, and I have a couple fun facts about old William Gaston.
Tell me.
He entered Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. at the age of 13 and was its first student.
Huh.
He was also the first dropout of Georgetown. And
I feel like this would be you.
and so he got some education in North Carolina and then went back to college and graduated from Princeton University, where he studied law. And Gaston is the author of the official state song of North Carolina, the Old North State.
Huh.
So there you go.
Well, all right.
William Gaston.
There you go.
Well,
I don't know if that's like common knowledge here in the Carolinas, but to me, that is all brand new information.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
So we're going to go back, though, to 1780. British Lord Charles Cornwallis. I'm sure you heard of that guy.
He's a veritable something or other of a man.
Dispatched Major Patrick Ferguson to gain loyalist support through intimidation, as well as to suppress the militia unrest that had begun growing in the Carolinas.
70 what? 70?
1780.
80. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, in relation to the MECDEC and the Declaration of Independence, as I say a nation, but, 13 colonies, whatever, but okay.
Yeah, this is like the height of...
So, yeah, we've surpassed all that, but we're still right in the mix of it.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ferguson's aggression angered many militiamen who began to organize. I feel like they probably were already organized a little bit.
At that point, yeah.
One of the organizing patriot forces was a regiment of 60 to 80 militiamen from Lincoln County, which appointed William Graham as colonel, Frederick Hambright as lieutenant colonel, and R. William Chronicle as major. Not the father William Chronicle, but the son William Chronicle.
Yes.
That we're talking about.
Yes. There are way too many Williams in this story.
So that was the Lincoln County regiment, and if you remember, that is part of Tryon County that was part of Mecklenburg County. Not to get confusing.
It's super confusing, but it's perfect.
Yeah, so that was the Lincoln County regiment, and William, as a major,
Which
was
William?
in charge.
Okay, William Chronicle, the son.
Our person.
Yes, okay.
He was in charge of the South Fork Boys.
Oh, okay.
And they were part of... They included people from the South Fork.
Oh. Well,
the South Fork of the Catawba River.
Yes. Okay.
Them, along with other forces from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and the Over Mountain Men, which apparently were from Tennessee.
Okay.
Just over the mountains.
Over Mountain Men.
All separately began to pursue Ferguson, and this led them to surrounding Ferguson.
Nice. Well done.
Because they were coming from all directions. And it just so happened that they all surrounded them at the same time.
I mean...
Because it says they separately began pursuing him. So it was like it wasn't part of the... It just worked out.
Right.
So they
cool.
found Ferguson and his forces on a southern spur of Kings Mountain as they camped on the top of a 60-foot ridge. Colonel Graham was not able to lead the Lincoln County Regiment because his wife had become seriously ill. So he put Major Chronicle in charge. Since he knew the areas, he knew it better than the other guy. So they planned their attack and charged up the hill.
Always a good military tactic.
Yeah. With Major Chronicle leading the way. As they reached the base of the ridge, Major Chronicle was in advance of his men, He raised his military hat, crying out, "Face to the hill." I don't really know what that means. And he was struck in the breast and fell mortally wounded.
It's not funny, but it's awesome.
Yeah. So he was leading his guys, and the reports placed him only 25 feet from the British position when he died, which just so happens is probably the minimum effective distance or minimum effective range of the weapons at that time.
Yeah.
Probably that short.
Yeah. My guess would be face to the hill either means
just like turn and go up it.
Either means like, yes, like don't retreat, keep moving forward, or means kind of a I'm in range, like hit the deck type of a thing, but keep moving.
Yeah.
Either way, keep pushing. But yeah.
But he led his man valiantly. And wasn't one of those lead from the rear kind of guys. Was a lead from the front. And he was buried at the site where he was killed. And there is now like a marker on Kings Mountain that has him, Captain John Maddox, William Robb, and John Boyd. 3 others that had died. And we're buried right there with him. There's like a marker. You can still see it. They had it. It was like put up early in the 1800s, and then another one was put up beside it to tell you what that old one said.
That's cool.
Kind of thing.
Are they both still up there? Because that's actually like pretty cool, though.
I'm pretty sure.
I like that.
Because it's like whatever the first one says, says something about the 4 that were buried there, and then on the other side it tells you about Ferguson.
Okay.
Yeah, they did get Ferguson too, by the way. He was killed as he was retreating.
Sheesh.
Let's see, I got some facts somewhere about that, so it ain't so just bleh, just ends. It's called the Battle of Kings Mountain.
Shocker.
It lasted about an hour and is considered one of the turning points of the American Revolution, as it was the first major Patriot victory to occur after the 1780 British successes at Charleston and Camden. Thomas Jefferson called it the turn of the tide of success. Casualties were high on the British side. Major Ferguson was shot from his horse and died while attempting to retreat, along with 225 loyalists. The remaining loyalists surrendered. Only 26 patriots were killed during the battle, which raised the morale throughout the newly formed nation.
Nice.
So 26 to 226.
Killed it. No spoon.
So another thing, how they didn't really have the liaisons to notify next of kin of their deaths back in the day. So since it was close to his home, a neighbor who was also in the battle took Major Chronicles' horse and put it in his father's stable, saddled as in battle. The next morning when his father found the horse, he knew his son had been killed.
I mean, that's sad, but also closure, I guess.
But he was only 25 years of age, and at the time was engaged to Miss Alexander of Mecklenburg County. I don't know who that is, but that's about it.
All right.
William Chronicle, not
the Chronicle of all the Williams, is I think what that story is.
Major William Chronicle Jr., I'd assume. They never once said Junior in things that I read. But if his father was also William Chronicle, unless they had like a different middle name.
I don't know when
Junior came into...
that like...
There's a thing because there was like...
monarchs and stuff, yeah.
But that wasn't their real name, right?
Also...
They chose a name.
I think so.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Pope.
Yeah. But like Elizabeth, her name wasn't Elizabeth, right?
I don't know.
She like...
I don't know.
chose Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah. I don't know how all that works, but well, all right.
But interesting. There's a bunch of little side stories, I guess, to it. Of course, when I pulled up the Battle of Kings Mountain Wikipedia, he was not mentioned once.
Okay.
He was listed over to the side in the little aside that shows like who the commanders were. He was there.
Gotcha.
But there was no story about him in the actual Wikipedia.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, you know, there were a lot of people there, apparently. So, I mean, from all the states.
All of the states. All, like, 13 of them at that point.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to take us to a much more pacifist-friendly side of Belmont, and to a nice location that is just about across the river from the Whitewater Center.
Okay.
But first, before I get into that, a very quick, comparatively, rundown of the Belmont area.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, all the mills.
All of them.
All the mills.
Yeah.
There are plenty there, which does give it a very interesting feel and historic vibe. But it was previously known as Garibaldi Station.
Okay.
Which, if it is the correct person I believe it is, he was an Italian like general who there was like sub themes of him being like a dictator and all this stuff. He was to a certain degree well liked, but also gave up a lot of like democratic liberties for the sake of unification. So a lot of questionable things there. Nonetheless, I believe that's who it was named for. It was eventually renamed Belmont, which is disputed that it could potentially have been renamed for a New York banker named August Belmont, or there is an abbey there, which is conveniently located right across from the Whitewater Center, that the Pope refused to kind of work with anything within that name, the Garibaldi name. The Pope didn't want to. So the other possible reasoning for the name being changed, the monks could see Crowder's Mountain from there, and so they named it Belmont, which means beautiful mountain. So, not quite sure what is the truth behind that, but those are the two debated renaming options. And that's really all I have about the background of it. A lot of it is just very similar history that we're already aware of in terms of mill villages and that kind of stuff. So,
okay.
But if you didn't pick up on it already, I'm going to be talking about the Belmont Abbey, which is one of 64 basilicas recognized by the Vatican in the United States, right here in Belmont. And I just thought it was interesting because we've got monks in Belmont. I guess, like, realistically, it makes perfect sense for there to be plenty of monks around the United States, but it's something that when I think of monks, I'm thinking like India, Italy, like.
Well, those are different types of monks.
I mean, yes.
Right.
There's different like sects of monks, but it's kind of just like how there's different divisions of Christianity. So monks are all like in principle very similar. Like,
yeah, but the ones in like India are not Catholic.
Right.
Like this one.
Right. They're like Buddhist monks.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yes, but monks in general still all kind of serve the same purpose, just for different avenues.
Shut up and pray?
I mean, kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. But I just thought it was interesting because I just never really imagined monks stateside, I guess. I don't know.
True.
So in 1876, a little bit of time past your shenanigans. You were talking. That's why I looked at my notes. You said something about 1846. Yeah. The Benedictine monks from St. Vincent Abbey in Pennsylvania, which St. Vincent Abbey was the first / is now the oldest abbey in the United States.
Where is Downton Abbey?
In the TVs.
Oh, okay.
The interwebs. So those monks from St. Vincent Abbey, it said, took possession of the formal Caldwell farm. I don't know what that means exactly because they're monks, so I imagine there wasn't like a battle over it, but I don't know if they kind of came in and said, yo, this is ours now, we're taking it, or if it was...
It's like a crusade to me.
I mean, I don't know. That's what, like, I don't know under what circumstances it was taken, but nonetheless, they took over that area and opened St. Mary's College. So basically, immediately, they came down to this area, and there was a priest and 2 students, and they immediately showed up, said, this is ours, and we're starting classes now. And so this priest had 2 students. This was in April of 76. Started doing whatever their coursework was specifically. And then by the fall semester, they had doubled to 4 students.
Ooh.
I know.
Big moves.
I know.
It's a college now, right?
Yes.
Now that there's 4.
Yes. So that's kind of like how it came to be in the area to start. I had to look up a lot of different words because on their website, like they go into a lot of different aspects of their history, which is really informative and interesting. But they use so much jargon that...
College words, yes.
Not college words, jargon, which means it's specific to their area. So they're talking about specific types of prayers and like different, I was going to say levels, but different positions that you can be in. And all of these words are like Italian words. And I'm like, I don't even know what these mean. And I'm a church girl, but like not
Catholic.
Right. And I mean, I was Catholic until I was 4.
Okay.
I remember sitting in the pews eating cheese balls with my daddy. My daddy was like a biker dude who married a Catholic chick. So me and him sat in church like when I was a kid. But
sounds rude.
That's how we bonded, all right? He gave me cheese balls while I was sitting in church. But yeah, so they used all these kind of terminology, so I didn't really know what was going on a lot of the time and had to look a lot of it up. So Benedictine means basically people who were of the like followers of Saint Benedict of Nursia. So it's kind of just like Christian is like a follower of Christ. So Benedictine is like following his principles. And so who this guy is, in 480 AD, and later deemed the father of Europe.
Okay.
This
father
guy
of Europe and eggs. Eggs Benedict. Do you get it?
I get it.
Okay.
Hence the deep sigh.
Sorry, I was trying to find a good point to use that. I feel like that was a good
I
one.
was, quite frankly, I was waiting for it to show up at some point. Yeah. So he wasn't really happy with the way life and Europe and everything was going right then. And so he decided he was going to start living as a hermit because he was unable to live a satisfying and productive life just based on society at that point. And go ahead.
Not a monk? Isn't like a religious hermit a monk?
Yes, but at that point, we just haven't gotten there yet. It's basically like he's like the preceding monkhood at this point is, you know, I'm Joe Schmo. I'm very religious in nature, and I don't like the way society is, so I'm going to retreat into my own little hole to like live in prayer and what I think is right.
Okay.
Like I'm taking that first step, but I'm doing it myself, and I'm not like joining a monkhood. But we're also in 480 AD, so those don't really exist yet.
Okay.
So he kind of retreats into his like hermitage, and somewhere along the way, it sounded like someone just stumbled across him, and was very like-minded in what he was pursuing. And so that guy basically said, like, hey, let me live under your tutelage. And so that's kind of where it started, and they more or less started their own, like, monk brotherhood at that point. So this goes on for years, and kind of more people starting to come along, and he eventually wrote the rule for monasteries, which were basically principles of living the way he was living and how he thought it was right to do this, and just kind of a guideline to help others live in the lifestyle that he thought was appropriate for this way. They said it was not meant to be an easy way of life, but also not meant to be so severe that no one would be able to really accomplish it if they were really committed to it, type of a thing.
Yeah.
So there were 73 chapters. Some were only a few sentences long, and some were several pages long. And then each specific chapter talked about a different aspect of what needed to be done. Some more like spiritual, some more practical. And so it was talking about humility, silence, obedience, prayer, work, clothing, sleeping arrangements, trips away, recruiting, etc. 73 chapters worth. And then they also commented saying, again, it was very like clear of what he expected of you or what he thought was right, but also left some leeway that each place could kind of make it their own. And so this kind of spread throughout all of Western Europe and then eventually into the US. And so he was considered the father of Western monasticism, which I believe is like monkhood.
Okay.
I could be totally wrong in that. I did not look that up.
Well.
So roast me in the comments if you need to, guys.
They won't.
J-Tap. Thanks. And then his kind of a biggest thing he was known for in that sense was he founded the Abbey of Montesasins.
Does that translate to mountain assassins?
No. It was a monastery that was about 80 miles outside of Rome. And that was like the biggest monastery he had founded. And that was actually where he ended up dying. And literally was doing everything he was doing up until his last breath. And kind of set this.
Well, it sounds like it wasn't really doing much.
Anyway. So that's kind of the backdrop of who these monks are here in Belmont and what principles they're following. So for the specific land itself, in, what did I say? 1876 is when it was originally like found, taken over.
I can just see him like just going to this big field and just like
mine
kneeling, and then
you
like
have
just
a flag?
started praying, and then like some dude came over and talked to him, and they don't talk back, so he just like was like, okay, I guess, and left because they didn't say anything to him.
And he just started
praying.
like plowing his field around them, and it slowly just got bigger.
And then they just like slowly they like started building a building, and then it just slowly got bigger. So then he had like less to do around, but then he couldn't really do anything, and so yeah.
I can say that's not how it happened, but I don't know how it did happen. But it also makes me think of there's an Eddie Izzard skit, which I don't know if you know who that is.
What?
Eddie Izzard. He's an old. He's still active as a stand-up comic. He's much more prevalent in Europe. He is a transvestite, and so it's just like this really weird, interesting. Yeah, I have. But he does a lot of like political and historical based stand-up comedy, and so some of my favorite things are probably 2 decades old now, but he runs around talking about the world wars and all this stuff, and he's British, and he talks in like all kinds of accents and does all languages and stuff, and he goes around and he's talking about like imperialism and, you know, going to some country in Africa and putting a flag in, and these people being like, we live here, what are you doing? And he's like, but do you have a flag? And they're like, what? No. And he's like, ha, mine then. Like, dibs. And it like, it's just ridiculous, but it's a good time. He also voiced Reapy Cheap in the Chronicles of Narnia movies.
You know whatever that is.
He's a mouse. He fights.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was in 1876 that they showed up and took over the farm. And 1884, they received the rank of abbey, which, again, I'm not Roman Catholic, so we can't exactly distinguish what all of these means, but they were given a certain level of distinction at that point. In 1900, and so also consider they came and started a school immediately, like day one, they were doing a school. So it was both church and school, basically. Okay. In 1900, 2/3 of the college building had burned down from a fire, and they immediately started rebuilding. In 1910, the Abbey...
Many candles?
Maybe. In 1910, the Abbey Church was given a rank of cathedral. Again, I can't really tell you.
That just means big church.
Well...
Big old church.
Maybe.
I think that's what a cathedral is.
In 1913, St. Mary's, the school, became known as Belmont Abbey College. And then in 1962, the Abbey's farm ceased its operations, which is the only reason I could say for sure is I'm sure the guy couldn't just stop farming around them because the farm was still in operations for several more years before it ceased. In 1973, the cathedral itself got put on the National Registry of Historic Places. And in 1998, the church was designated a minor basilica by St. John Paul II. Okay. I didn't write this one date down in there, but at some point the whole kind of school and everything made the historic registry as like a historic sort of downtown area thing. Clearly, I should have written the notes down. But nonetheless. So that's kind of a quick timeline of the space itself. It's a 700-acre campus. As of right now, they have 20 men and growing who are monks in their abbey. And kind of wanted to swing back to what you had said about a cathedral being a large church, which I guess is also a distinction of like some people consider church a building. Other people consider church the like activity of coming together and worshiping. But whatever.
Anywho.
So I say that coming from I've had enough experience with that distinction being made, and so I'm not quite sure what you are saying. But the basilica itself is meant to be more of a house of prayer. It doesn't actually oversee a congregation at all. So there are masses there, but it's not like, oh, we belong to this church. It's because it's part of the school and everything, they hold mass and let students come and do kind of things with the community, but it's also not, it's a weird distinction. I'm not fully aware of all the ins and outs of it. Again, not being Roman Catholic, there's so many like rules and regs there. Something interesting is of the 20 plus men that are part of their monkhood, they've just got some really interesting backstories, and they highlighted a couple of them, but they've got a weatherman, like a prior weatherman, who got his PhD at Florida State, and like his whole life was like super into hurricanes and storms and all this stuff, and then I guess, kind of several times felt like maybe this is something I should be doing, and eventually lost a friend. And that kind of made him reevaluate life type of thing. And he said, nope, I'm going for it. And so now he's a full-time monk.
Probably very useful. He's like, well, we can't wear our white robes today because it might rain. So let's go with our burlap.
Burlap.
I don't know what they wear.
They've got other monks that
is interesting.
Because I was like, he had a clear passion. He already had a PhD. Like he put a lot of time and effort into this kind of path of his life to then like basically renege all of it and just.
It's like if our boy, what's his name? Why can't I think of the
Dancing
weatherman?
Homie.
The weatherman.
Oh, Brad Panovich.
Yeah, it's like Panovich. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go hang out at Belmont Abbey for the rest of my life.
But kinda.
Yeah.
So you've got kind of people coming from that aspect. You've got people who are that sort of family legacy. I read 2 different stories. One that was a guy from, I believe, Indiana, who his family had been involved in church and whatever, but then they moved to North Carolina. And so he came to visit and just kind of fell in love with the area. And so specifically joined here. Another one where like his family had specifically, like his brother was in whatever. And so continued into it. There was one that this guy was, like he ended up converting to Catholicism at during college or like a semi-older age, and just was looking for this community to really be involved in, and was getting too much backlash from the people that he had been involved with. And so he wanted to join and just got super into it. You've got a lot of like military folk and all kinds of interesting aspects there. And then their responsibilities as monks vary a lot. So really like their highest principles that they kind of focus on are family and ultimately trying to like glorify God through everything they do. But they're talking about family, and that's why it's this brotherhood and all of that. And so it's just kind of cultish, but like without that connotation, I guess, or it's like culturally acceptable
they don't
to
really
be
harm anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like the culturally acceptable.
It's a cult, but they don't harm anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so a lot of their jobs can range from like real basic things to like some housekeeping and helping kind of, they actually have like hired caterers, but like, you know, helping prepare the dining room and that kind of stuff. But then they also have people who, because they are associated with this school, they have several that are administrators and educators and part of that thing.
Part of the board and stuff like that.
Some are coaches for their sports teams, that kind of a thing. They have some that help like pastor the community and the people they're involved with. They do like weekend retreats that like they don't host the retreats, but they'll let you come in and host your own retreat there. And so they have people who kind of help guide you through that process.
Run the Belmont Abbey College Twitter weather update things.
No.
Okay.
But they actually did like a news spot on that guy specifically and kind of told his story. And so whenever that was run, he was talking about how he taught several like science classes now at there because he's got that background. But it was also interesting to me because one of the guys who specifically was kind of the like family legacy into it said how much he loved teaching and was really good at it. And it was just an interesting aspect of him saying he has been fortunate enough to teach from time to time, but through the kind of overseeing leadership or whatever of the Abbey, how that works, he had been put on a lot of different jobs, and it was kind of that sacrificial living of this is what I really would love to do within this brotherhood, but I committed to the brotherhood, not to something I want to do. And so learning to accept not doing the thing, I don't know, it's really interesting.
But would he have the qualifications if he wasn't a monk?
To teach?
Yeah.
I don't know. Didn't specifically go into it. At least because it was kind of like a self-written bio type of thing. And so he didn't specifically go into what his educational training was or what classes they were. Because if they're like theological classes, I think being a monk qualifies. Because to be a monk, you have to have so many prereqs. So, and so then also Belmont Abbey College is now a 4-year undergrad liberal arts school.
Is it called university or is it still college?
As per their website, this is college.
Okay.
And they have approximately 1,600 students. A little higher than that 4. Or the 2 they started with.
Yep. Just 400 times.
A little bit. But.
Gorgeous place, though.
I wouldn't know. We didn't drive past it.
I got some,
I'm sad because it was so close to where we were, but. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all in the National Historic Registry. It sounds really cool. I was just really brought into the story because I was intrigued by the fact that there's monks, I guess, in the U.S., but also like right here. And like, because, you know, you hear the word monk and you think Buddhist monks up in India. And like, I realize it's not quite the same, but it was just very interesting to me and kind of took me off guard to realize that's a thing. And just diving a little deeper into their lifestyle and then the various kind of like past lives of these people that come in and decide to become a monk and how they come from all these different areas of life. And I guess there's also just a really unique, or at least it was interesting to me, that they are quite literally so close to the Whitewater Center, and you've got two very diverse populations there. And then also that the college that they help kind of run is a liberal arts school, which I don't know to what degree it's a liberal arts school, but that just the fact that even that phrasing was there on the Abbey's website was very interesting to me. But
I think it'd be cool. Religion falls under liberal arts.
I mean, that's true, but I mean, I went to a liberal arts grad school in New York, and so I mean, it's
a little bit different, brother.
A little bit. And so that's like my immediate goes to what my experience is. And so I was just like, whoa, which I realize is probably quite different. But I just thought it was a really interesting thing. Didn't expect it there. And I would really love to go check it out. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. That's what I got.
Cool.
Historic Belmont.
Yeah, cool place. You should check it out. Belmont, I mean, it's a gorgeous little town too, though.
Yeah, that's very true.
They've put some money into it. Mm-hmm. Parks look super nice. Mm-hmm. Went kind of near one, I guess.
Yeah, it's like there's way too many people around there when we went. That I would like to go and check it out again when there's not an event going on to see, because there was that entire second half of the street that we kind of ignored because there were just people that I would like to just kind of see what it's like on the daily.
And then there's the Riverside Park. I don't remember what it was called. Mm-hmm. Then they have like Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden.
Yep.
A lot of gardens and parks in the area.
It's a very historical and beautiful time and money invested into an area that I would certainly enjoy taking some more time to explore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like
a nice little slice of easy street right outside of Charlotte. You know what I mean? It has like a small southern town feel.
Yeah.
But then it's a stone's throw.
Yeah, it's something you would definitely Charlotte. Expect to see in like a movie of, you know, maybe not so much as like the 50s, but like old school southern town. I mean, maybe. What I went to was like a Netflix movie, and so I wasn't sure if it would make sense to people, but like I'm thinking of I can't even think of what it's called. It was her nickname. It was like a Jennifer Aniston was like the mom, and it was a beauty pageant mom dealing with
Honey Boo Boo.
No, but kinda. It was like her daughter's.
I know which one you're talking about, but I can't think of the name either. I didn't watch it.
Yeah. But it makes me think of a town like that, or even I guess a little more mainstream would be like Runaway Bride. And I know that's certainly not up your alley.
Why don't you tell me a movie that makes sense to me?
Yeah. Very much what you would kind of expect. That's what I picture when I'm in Belmont, and it's really cute. But yes, it's like 15 minutes from Uptown.
Yeah.
So
cool. You can see Uptown from a few spots there. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all we've got for this week. Thanks as always for checking us out, listening to our ramblings on shenanigans that make probably zero sense, but we're enjoying learning a little bit more about our area, and we hope you are too.
Yeah, so tell your peoples, Mother's Day has passed, so I'm not going to say mother, but Father's Day.
It may have already passed by the time this posts too.
It's at some point, and you should tell him about it.
He probably likes beer.
Yeah, I mean, he may be into like Bush,
but
like Bush Copper Top, Bush Light,
Natty,
something like
PBR.
That. Yeah, it ain't got a blue ribbon for no reason. But tell him anyways. Get him on some craft beer. Get him on some history. Old people like history. Tell old people you know.
That's
if
true.
you work in a nursing home, play it up loud.
Teach them how to comment on YouTube, and they can tell us a thing or two.
Yeah, they probably got all kinds of stories we want to hear about.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, comment, subscribe.
All the things.
All that.
And we will catch you all next week.
Check you later.
Bye.